Okay, good morning. So now we're looking at exchange rates, which are now dealing with exercise 12.7, and we'll do it some timelines question in this video as well. So that I think we can wrap up financial maths today. Okay. So exchange rates. Last year you guys have been exposed to change rates already. Okay, as you know that every currency, if you move from one country to another, you go on holiday or things like that, you'd have to change your rands to dollars or your rands to pounds or your rands to Botswana pula or whatever whichever country you're going to, the exchange rate will differ according to that. Okay, yesterday we spoke about factors that influences your, not yesterday, the day before, we spoke about factors that influence your inflation, you remember? Okay, and that also, the inflation also has a direct effect on exchange rates. So as your inflation goes up, okay, your strength of your currency actually comes down. Okay, so we are told here that the current exchange rates can be found in newspapers and on the internet, radios, television. Okay, so when you listen to the bulletin in the morning on the radio, they always tell you the exchange rate between the rand and the dollar. Okay, because that is the most, it's a currency that is used the most. Okay, because oil is traded in dollars. Okay, a couple of years ago, the dollar was actually declining; it was falling. Okay, and the way that they stabilized it was to enforce trade for crude oil in dollars. So because you can only buy crude oil in dollars, the demand for the dollar increased, and therefore everybody is now trading in dollars. Therefore now the dollar started stabilizing and strengthening. Okay? And that if you're now going to politics, and you'll understand why they killed Gaddafi and all of those things. Okay, because Gaddafi wanted to come with the golden rand, or the golden currency. Gaddafi said, we don't want dollars for our oil, for our resources, or our minerals. We want gold. Okay, now as you know that your rand is backed by gold, no? You must do this in EMS and stuff like that. Your rand is backed by gold, right? But what they do in for foreign policies, what they do is they print dollars and they print over the reserve that they have. So he says no, he doesn't want your dollar. He wants the gold coin. They want, instead of 100 million or 100 billion dollars, give us 100 billion dollars worth of gold, which they don't have. Okay, and if you go deep into it, you'll understand why they invade, or they bombed Libya, or they bombed Iraq, or those things. It all comes back down to economics. Okay, you might think that they want to liberate Muslim women that's in hijab, and okay, believe that for now. But later on, when you have time, go into it, and you will find out why these things happen. Okay. So we are told that international trade and world markets often price goods like gold, platinum, oil price, and services in US dollars. That's exactly what I've indicated there. When the rand weakens against other currencies, the cost of importing goods and services to South Africa increases. Okay. That's exactly what we spoke about on Tuesday, was the influx of your fluctuation of your trading. Okay. So this was done in January 2011. How many years ago was that? 10 years. Only 10 years ago. Okay. Remember, I told you that the rand was stronger than the dollar a couple of years ago. Okay, a couple of years prior to 2011, the rand was stronger than the dollar. Okay, you had to pay $2 for a rand. Today, in 2011, when this table was what's the name? Taken from the net. The dollar was trading at 6 rand 81 cents. So for every $1, you pay 6 rand and 81 cents. 10 years later, 2021, the dollar is trading at? Sorry? 18. No, it's 14. $14. 14 rand. I think you're coming at 14 and 79 cents. Okay? As we said, this is a direct cause of inflation. Okay? That affects us. The unrest in our country, the looting, the fighting, the corruption, all of those things factors into the reason why our economy is weakening. Okay? So importantly, to build the economy, we need to produce professional people. Okay, we are amongst the countries of the world that produce the most chartered accountants in the world. But we're still short in chartered accountants in South Africa because most of our people leaves the country. Okay, they go work elsewhere, they get a better salary and things like that. Okay, which is not wrong, but they're strengthening other economies, and ours is just getting weaker and weaker. Okay, but there's many factors. Okay, many factors that factors into this. It's not only what I'm highlighting to you. Okay, many more. All right. So let's look at an example. You got a picture there of Gandhi and all of those things. Okay. So we're going to look at the example, and this is on page. Can somebody give us the reference to this example? 277. Okay. Oops, undo. $277. Okay, so we are told that 4 people. Let's close this. The calculator is in the way. So 4 people travel to London. So what is the currency in London? Huh? The pound. The pound is used in London. Okay. 4 people travel to London and have supper at a restaurant. The cost of the meal per person is $32. Okay? Sorry, pounds. 32 pounds. Calculate the total cost of the meal in South Africa, rand, using the exchange rate given in the table. So firstly, we need to go see what the British pound costs per rand. Okay? Here it says the cost in rands, that's ZAR, South African rand. Okay, I'm sure they're going to change it soon. Something else. For 1 unit of foreign currency. So we know that the dollar at this stage is not trading at 6 rand and 81 cents. We know also that the pound is not trading at 10 rand and 47 cents. We know that. Okay, but we're just using the table for calculation purposes. The pound is trading now at something like 17 rand. Sorry? Sorry? Is it more? More, okay. So, the traveler gave us the insight. It is a bit more than that, okay. I want to go to London, okay, I'm a teacher. You guys, your engineers and stuff, and of course you'll travel those places, okay. So, we were using the currency for British pound. 1 pound is equal to 10 rand 47 cents. Sorry? Dollars. Oh, the dollar sign. Sorry. We're making so many mistakes today. Okay. So that is the exchange rate. You see the recording just carried on. Okay. So at this point we have $1, the £1 equals 10 rand and 47 cents. So the cost per meal is 32 pounds. So in other words, how many pounds did they spend? It's going to be 4 times 32, not so? Is that correct? And 4 times 32 is what? 128. Is that correct? Right. So since the exchange rate between the pound and the rand is 10 rand and 47 cents, so how do I move from 1 to 128? I multiply. Not so? So it's going to be 10,47 multiplied by 128. Okay? So I say 128 multiplied by 10.47. So in rands, that meal would have cost us, not us, the people traveling, 1,340 rand and 16 cents. You all agree with that? Any confusion? No. Okay. Okay, let's look at the next example. In the next example, just cut it quickly. Example 2. Which page is this example on? 277. Okay, so this is the example on page 277. So in the note we are told that Brent crude oil only costed $26 per barrel in 2000. And the exchange rate was 9 rand and 26 cents to the US dollar. The petrol price at that stage was 4 rand to the liter. Okay? The price of petrol per litre is probably 3 times or 4 times that amount. Okay. So in question A, we are told that Brent crude oil cost $92 a barrel. That was in the year 2000. Here we're looking at 2011, the year around. No? Calculate the cost in rands of importing 5,000 barrels of oil using the exchange rate given in the table. So, firstly, we need to calculate how much it's going to cost us for 5,000 barrels of oil. Not so? So, we started with the exchange rate. And what's the exchange rate? 6,81. So, 1 rand. No, sorry. $1 buys us 6 rand and 81 cents. Not so. It's the exchange rate given. So $92 per barrel. How many barrels they bought? 5,000. Not so. So that gives us a total of 92 multiplied by 5,000. 460,000. Is that correct? 460,000 US dollars. Okay. But they want to know what the cost in rands would be. So how do I move from 1 to 460,000? You multiply. And remember when we're busy with the ratios, we're only multiplying them. Okay? So that's going to give you 6 rand and 81 cents by $460,000. So that will give us an answer of, so you multiply that by 6 rand and 81 cents. That gives you 3,132,000. 3,132,600 rand will cost to import 5,000 barrels of Brent crude oil. Okay, understand? Then in B we are told the exchange rate was 6 rand 81 to the US dollar in January 2011. The rand weakened against the dollar. Okay, and the exchange rate increased to 9 rand 60. Alright. The question says calculate the percentage increase in the exchange rate. So how do we calculate percentage increase or decrease? Increase. Percentage increase. We say the difference over the original times 100. That is your percentage increase. The decrease is the same thing. Now, the difference is the difference between the two exchange rates. So it's going to be 960 minus 960 minus 6,81 over, what is the original exchange rate? 6,81, and I multiply that by 100. So you put that in a calculator. So it's 960 minus 6,81 over 6,81 times 100. Why times 100? Because I'd say percentage. So the percentage increase is 40,97%. That's a huge increase. Not so? It's a massive increase. So it's going to be 40,9. Okay, they didn't tell us for how many decimal places, so we're just going to go to 2 decimal places. 40,97%. Okay, let's check. That's in order. Yes, that is good. Okay. Any confusion, people? No? Right? If it was percentage decrease, again, the difference over the original times 100. It's always calculated like that. Okay? And then in C, we are told, if the price of petrol was 8 Rand and 20 cents per litre when the exchange rate was 6 Rand and 81 cents to the dollar. Calculate the cost of petrol per litre when the exchange rate increased to 9 Rand and 60 cents to the dollar. So we're now going to assume that the exchange rate or the cost in litres per petrol is in direct proportion to the increase percentage according to the exchange rates. Okay? We're assuming it's directly proportional. It's not actually in reality, okay? But let's say that is the case. So in other words, the petrol price must increase by how much percent? 40.97%. Not so? So for our new price, percentage increase, new price per litre is going to give you 8 Rand and 20 cents multiplied by 100 plus 40.97 over 100. Okay, that's one way of doing it. I'll do it another way for you now. So it's 8 Rand 20 multiplied by 100 plus that answer, that was the last answer calculated, over 100. Why over 100? Because that's a percentage. So the new price for petrol per litre after the increase is 11 Rand and 56 cents per litre. Otherwise, what we could have done was, you could have worked out the increased value would be 8 Rand and 20 cents multiplied by, there's an increase of 40.97 over 100, which is 8.2 multiplied by 40.97 over 100. That gives us 3.36. So that's the increased price. So the new price per litre is going to give you 8 Rand and 20 cents plus 3.36, which gives you 11.56 anyway. Okay, so either way is going to be the correct means of calculation. Okay, you guys understand? Any confusion, people? No. Okay, so for homework, I would like you guys to do exercise 12.7. Okay, you got 12.7 for homework. Alright. Next heading, timelines. So at this point you can either, for those of you watching the video later, you could pause the video at this point, you do all the exercises, then you come back to this timeline question, okay? So for timelines, let's start this here before the bell rings. So we are told that a timeline can be used to provide a visual representation of the problem where there are several deposits and withdrawals and changing of interest rates. So what happens in reality is, if you got a lump sum of money, okay, and you invest it, so you can invest it for 10 years. For 10 years, that interest rate is not going to stay standard. You all agree with that? Interest rates fluctuates, not so. So as the interest rate goes up, you get a better return. If it goes down, you get a lesser return than previously. Okay? So the interest rate does not stay standard. Likewise, if you got 10,000 rand to invest today, 5 years later maybe you need parts of that money. Okay? Or in 5 years' time you got a promotion. So maybe there's a lump sum that you would like to save again. So with the 10,000 rand you want to add another 20,000 rand to that lump sum. So what happens is, over a longer period of time, there's variations on your account. You understand? You either withdraw or you add, or the interest rate changes, or so on. Does it make sense? So the timeline basically helps us summarize and put the variables or the variations in order. Okay, so that we can easily see, it's a graphical representation of what's happening in that savings account. Does it make sense? Hello? Yes, okay. Am I going too fast? Yes. Okay, I'll go a bit slower, no? When I do the example. Right, this example 1 on page. Example 1 on page 280. So we are told the savings account is opened and 7,000 rand is deposited. So we got a timeline. Do we have to draw a timeline? No. However, the timeline helps us with doing the calculations. It just simplifies it for us. Okay. So a savings account is opened. So at this point here, it's starting point. So how much time has lapsed once you started? How many years has lapsed? Nothing. Not so? Initial deposit. So your time is 0. Not so? It's a starting point. 7,000 rand is deposited. So I put the 7,000 rand. 3 years later, 3,000 rand is added to the savings account. So what do I do now? I mark this as T3. It was 3 years later. When I said 5 years later, I would have put there T5. 6 months later, I would have put T 0,5 or T6 over 12. Why? Because these values here represents the time in years. Make sense, people? That's 12 and a half years. 12.5. 18 months will be, it will be T 1.5. Okay, so 18 divided by 12 is 1.5. Okay, 3 years later, 3,000 rand is added. I indicate a deposit, a further deposit with plus. So I put there 3,000. If they had said 3 years later 3,000 rand was withdrawn from the account, what would I have put there? Minus 3,000. You all understand? Alright. 2 years after the second deposit, a third deposit of 8,500 rand is made. So what do I write here? T5. Why? Because that's 2 years after this deposit has been made. Okay? It's the third deposit of 8,000, again with a plus 500 rand is made. Calculate the total amount of money accumulated in the savings account after 8 years. So this year is going to be T8. If the interest is paid at 9.5% per annum compounded annually. So the interest rate is standard, that remains the same, at 9.5% per annum compounded annually. Then 1/1, later on we'll talk about compounded quarterly, compounded daily, compounded monthly. In this, 1/1 becomes 1/4, 1/12, or so on. But for now, it's just like 1/1, or you can leave that part blank. You don't need that for now. Will you guys understand? Right. So how many variations are there on this account? There's 1, 2 variations. From the initial deposit, there are 2 variations. Where are the 2 variations? At T3 and at T5. What variations mean? Where changes happen. Okay, so we mark off where the changes happen. Okay? So how many years is it from T0 to T3? 3 years. How many years from T3 to T5? 2 years. How many from T5 to T8? 3 years. 3 plus 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8. People, doesn't make sense. You all okay with that? Right. So, for the first part, there's 2 ways of doing this. I'll do it both ways if time permits. I'm going to consider 7,000 Rand. Remember, this is compound interest. So A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the exponent n. So, what happens is, I'm going to consider 7,000 Rand this year for how many years? 3 years. And I'm going to work it up until there. Make sense? So let's do this quickly. What's going to be 7,000 into 1 plus 0, 0.095 to the power 3. So what does that give us? What does that give us? Alright, so it's going to be 7,000, open brackets, 1 plus 0.095 to the exponent 3. Yes, 11,000? 3. 9,190 Rand and 53 cents. 9,190 Rand and 53 cents. You all agree with that? People, now this amount here is the amount of money lying at that point. Can you see that? That's the amount of money lying at that point. But what happens also at that point? 3,000 Rand is actually added to this account, which strengthens the account by a further 3,000 Rand. Makes sense, people? So what is going to change here? My P value at that point. Not so. So I'm going to put my P's in there. So the P value now changed at this point as 9,190 Rand and 53 cents is added, or 3,000 Rand is added to that total. Okay? So that gives us what? I'll put it here. Get 12,190,53. Not so. 5.6 or 5.3? 5.3. Okay. Plus 3,000 Rand. Remember, I use the answer button on the calculator. Okay. Why? So that we can have that decimals that's following that also represented. So what happens now? Remember, there's 2 variations. So it's going to be 3A formula that's going to be used. Why? So that's 1A there. That's the second A formula. And that's the A3 or A total formula. Okay, not so. So if there's 4 variations, how many A formulas are we going to have? 5. If there's 1 variation, how many formulas are we going to have? 2. We're going to use the compound angle for compound interest formula twice. As you can see, it has 2 variations, so I use it thrice. Can you see that, people? So my A2, the second A formula now. Let's call that A1. Second A formula, A2. It's going to again be same formula, A is equal to P into 1 plus I to the exponent n. What's your P value now? 12,190, 53 into 1 plus what? 0,095 to the exponent 2. Why? Because that is for 2 years. Okay, so let's work that out quickly. We press answer. Why answer? Because at 12,190 and 53 cents was the last calculation made. Not so? Open brackets. Is there a question? No. 1 plus 0,095 to the exponent 2. That gives us 14,616. 14,616, 75. People, but what? Now this is the amount that's lying at that point there now. But what happens? You add it and further 8,500. So which value changes? The P value changes again, which is 14,616 rand and 75 cents plus 8,500 rand. That now gives us a total of 23,116 rand. 23,116. 16. 116, 75. Now what? Again, now is the third A formula we're using, and the final one, which is 23,116 rand and 75 cents into 1 plus 0,095 to the exponent. The 3 years. Yes, 3 years. So it gives me a total, a final amount. We again go answer into 1 plus 0,095 to the exponent 3. Gives you a total of 30,350 rand. 30,350 rand and 72 cents. Any confusion, people? No. So tomorrow I'll explain to you another way that you can do it. But first I must give you a homework on this so that you can apply this method. It's very important for you to do the homework for tomorrow's lesson. Okay? I know you guys do your homework. Okay? I hope. Right. And in tomorrow's lesson I'll also do example 2 and 3. So for homework I want you guys to do the following. It's 12 point, what is this? 8. 12.8 you do for me the odd numbers. So please don't do the whole exercise. You do 12.8